LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, we'll tweet things out there. We use Facebook to some extent. We've got cultural videos. So this, go to career fairs. It's all, we do speaking engagements. It's everything that we do. We also use other sourcing tools called Intello. Intello is a sourcing tool. It has algorithms in there that identify when someone's on the move potentially. So meaning that you're active in your social media accounts. This tool will pick that up, and it'll be so we're trying to identify those that might want to have a conversation with us more quickly than, let's say, a really passive candidate. So we use tools like that. We can get your emails, we can get your phone numbers. All that stuff is available to us beyond LinkedIn. So, and we're always looking at new tools to pull in to our mix to find you. And on the software engineering side for the CS students, I mean, a lot of times, once you get into your first gig in software engineering, you'll have so many calls coming to you from corporate recruiters and everybody. You'll be like, I'm done with it. And I've seen people really just take everything off their LinkedIn account. They might have their name, but they'll put something else as a profession. I mean, we had one person that we found, and their profession was cow tipper. Well, I would have never found this person. I wasn't searching for a cow tipper. I was searching for a Linux engineer. But we found him through using GitHub and other tools that we had. So, yeah.
Yeah, how long should a resume be? Back in the day, it was like have one page resume, read it, but I feel like mine is pretty long with experience, publications,
It depends what type of job you're applying for. If you're applying for a research job, they're generally going to want a CV, in which case, pile on the pages, show everything you've done. If you're applying for a non-research job and they want a resume, I'd say 1 page or a page front and back, tops. The problem is when you start doing the opposite, because if I'm applying for a research position and I hand them a 1-page and they ask for a CV and I have a 1-page resume, it's like, wow, this guy's done nothing. Like, who is this guy? But if I'm applying for an engineer position and they ask for a resume and I hand them my CV with 10 pages of everything I've ever done, they're gonna be like, what? I don't want to read any memos this guy's ever going to send out. So.
And it's making sure that you've got enough in there, but not too much. So, I mean, the whole thing about, it just should be 1 page. I don't, if it goes to 2 pages, it's okay. Now, the world doesn't stop if it goes over a page. I know a lot of people go, I got to do a page. I mean, if you want to do a page and it makes you feel good, do just an executive summary, right? Because that'll be another version. When somebody says, I'll send you my summary, and that's kind of nice. And then if they come back and say, can you send me your full-blown or detailed resume, then you send that afterwards, right? So I do like those executive summaries that kind of gives more project-based, right? Things that you've done, maybe publications, right? Maybe some papers that you've written. And that's really nice for someone that you just kind of like starting to network with, you meet somebody on campus, you meet somebody at an event, and hey, we just sent over my summary to you. It's not a resume, right? So it's kind of soft. It's a nice way to get to the resume one. So that's kind of how I feel.
That works really well, because, and I'll get to your question in 1 second. But, so my primary role in my job isn't recruiting and interviewing, that's secondary. My primary job is technical sales. So I have to go in and meet customers, deal with the technical issues they have on a daily basis. And that is just like interviewing. It's the same thing. I have to go in there and I have to do an open. I have my canned value statement, which is different for each company, but I practice it in Miro beforehand. So if it's a energy company, I'm going to talk about how I had funding from the Department of Energy and my experience there. If it's a mechanical engineering company, I'm going to talk about my experience there. Put in a quick value statement, which should be 90 seconds or less. Quick value statement, get through it. Then you have to engage with them and the same sort of things. Like the executive summary you brought up. If a potential customer asks for a proposal, always send an executive summary with it. Because most people don't want to sit there and read tons of pages. And if they have a quick way to say, to filter through them, to say, this one, then they could go into the details of that resume. Yeah. It's like a cover letter.
And remember too that any skills that you have, you know, this is in technical sales. Well, let's say you're in the lab, and I think you mentioned that. Well, how can you take those lab skills and maybe get outside the lab? Every company is selling something, right? Whatever, they're selling something. So and a lot of times they need the technical aspects of it. It's a sales engineer of some sort, maybe it's a mechanical sales engineer or electrical sales engineer. I used to hire pharmacy sales reps. So these were pharmacists that didn't really want to fill prescriptions anymore. So they went to sales. And I gotta tell you, they made a lot of money. So they can take their skill set and move into that direction too. So don't think it's just what you're doing, but think about what companies do. And it's all about, you know, in some respects, right, making a revenue.
So everything starts off with the resume, and I heard that you can come off either as a doer or an achiever. And since most of us have research that is laid out and we do steps, how can we make it sound like we're achievers in such a short, one-page long resume? Like, what are the keywords that recruiters looking for?
So doer and achiever. I mean, I think if you write it appropriately, I mean, you can certainly make a task an accomplishment or an achiever, right? You must have accomplished. So I did this, right? This is what I did. This is why I did it, and this was the accomplishment or the result. So I think if you frame it right, you can make it into one statement. I wouldn't just list tasks or say, you know, I did this, I did this, I did this, but more or less, this is the project I worked on. We did it to satisfy some type of regulation requirement, and the result was, 25% reduction in this incident, right? So
That comes back to what I was saying earlier, where you need to give background, action, and result, or we call them bars. And if you're interviewing, sometimes interviewers will count the number of bars an applicant has. So you have to see what the background is, what the action is, what the result was. And that's going to make that whole difference right there.
and you have that up front. You really want to have someone else critique your resume too, maybe get a few different opinions again. Multiple versions, because everybody's going to have different opinions. Somebody says, oh no, they told me I should only have one page, or oh no, they told me don't put that in there. So you want to, get some different opinions on it, because a recruiter looks at a resume pretty quickly. I mean, they'll look at it and it's either, we kind of see what we are looking for or not. If we see what we're looking for, then we do a deeper dive. So you want to make sure a lot of that information is up front. Don't hide it in page 2. Make sure it's in page 1.
You can reorganize, even if you're not rewriting the resume, reorganize it to make whatever that company's going to be most excited about, make sure that's, above the fold, as they say. So that's big.
And I can't underestimate punctuation, grammar, and spelling. I'm serious. So I've seen hiring managers look at a resume and there was a misspelling and they reject it. It's really important. So spell check it, have someone else read it, because sometimes you can miss just a word. Watch your acronyms. If you're spelling out things, and particularly in CS and these other roles, make sure that the letters that are supposed to be capitalized are, and the ones that are not shouldn't be. Just little things like that can actually, lose you an opportunity. So really critical. It goes back to the brain.
And not just that, not just make sure that your spelling is all correct and the grammar is all correct, but you also have to be self-consistent. So if you, only capitalize the first letter in a segment title, you need to only capitalize the first segment in every section title. But, so self-consistency is big, and also, different recruiters are going to be different, and they're going to look for different things. I was with a fellow IBM interviewer, and we were going through some resumes for an integration specialist position. And he got this resume and he goes, wow, this is terrible. Like, why would anyone do this? And hands it to me, and I was like, this is spectacular. The applicant had written their entire resume in HTML. So, with all the tags and everything. And I looked at it and I thought it was hilarious, like, way to stand out, it was great. And he thought it was horrible, like, hard to read. Wow. So different different people are gonna have different views, but make sure but still maybe try and find a way to stand out. And the easiest way to stand out is, when they're gonna start reading, make sure that the main points you wanna get across are at the beginning and get to them soon.
Are the courses that we take during our PhD or grad school are relevant to you?
Oh, the coursework?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the role. So I really have to look at like your courses and what it is like. But I can tell you this, many colleges, universities will reach out to employers and ask them what's important to you, what type of skills are you looking for as an employer, and we do share that with universities. So, on the technology side, yeah, I mean, there's certain things that we're looking for, and the schools that we go to are offering that in their curriculum. The ones that don't, we don't go to, because it's just not a match. But, so there is dialogue that goes on between, let's say, the business world and academia. There probably should be more of it. And that's just my own personal opinion. But.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, because he's absolutely right, it does depend. And sometimes, if it's a very general course, you don't need to. Like, if you took a course on C++, you don't need to say, hey, I took a course on C++. You can just say, in your list of languages, you can code in C++. Something general like that, no. But if they are looking for someone who does something specific, and you took a course on that specific thing, then yeah, that's in your qualifications. Say, hey, you're looking for someone who's done this exact item. Well, I just took a full semester on that exact item. Yeah?
We have one here, we'll go right to you.
So we were talking a lot about keywords. Just wanted to ask you, so for me, let's say if something is like general keywords, maybe it's very technical because I am into that field. So what kind of general keywords we should put in if we have to talk about our project? So I wrote a research proposal yesterday, and I took it to my advisor and was like, this is so technical. And put it in a general way, and I just do not know how to put it.
Into those terms. Are there specific, what's the major? Or what do you?
I'm doing material science.
Oh, material science. So, I mean, someone that's looking for material science candidates, they're going to be searching on some of those technical terms probably that you were asked to take out of your proposal. So, but it doesn't mean you can't put them in LinkedIn, in your summary. Because again, besides recruiters, and I should add this, I didn't mention this. So on my team, I have sourcing folks, I have sourcing specialists, they're researchers basically. They do a lot of the sourcing and looking for those keywords, looking for people. And then the recruiters typically work with the internal hiring managers, for example. Then we have recruiting operations that moves it all through the process, right, instead of production. So a sourcing specialist is going to be keying in keywords in the material sciences field. And you know those better than I do because I don't know that field. But those are the terms that you want to put on your resume, and particularly in your social media account, like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How important is GPA, and also do you care about the reputation of these schools, the universities? Like if someone is from Bridgeport University or from UConn or from Brown University, do you arrange them like Brown, UConn, Bridgeport, or no?
So I'll answer that part. No, we don't. And so we don't do that. We do recruit from a variety of schools, including community colleges. So it's across the gamut, universities, colleges, you name it. We're recruiting from those areas because sometimes we're not sure where we're going to find the talent either, right? I mean, we have analytics in terms of where maybe our skill set matches up with a particular school. But yeah, so it's not rated in that respect. For GPA, and if you Google our CEO, Austin McCord, you'll see that his GPA was somewhere in the low twos. Well, now he's running a $1 billion corporation. So I'm not sure if GPA really has as much of an impact as we think, but But with that said, there are certain fields where GPA is extremely critical. And employers will look at just GPA, or they'll look at that as a entry point to the interview process, right? So my son was a finance major. Well, GPA is super important there. He was going to interviews where they were like, look, anybody under 3.5, 3.6 need not apply. So it's, you know, they just wanted the AA students, AA minus students. So it's important, but there are these times when, yeah, GPA, maybe, we don't look, so at Datto, we don't necessarily look at GPA as a qualifier in, right? We have people that actually have not gone to college and are extremely well, doing well, and have an incredible impact on the country. So we're a little, you know, it's just different, goes back to culture, right? So understanding the company that you're interviewing for is important. But with all that said, a high GPA, you got it all covered, right? You've got a high GPA, it's
Put it
covered.
there.
Let's put it there.
If you have a high GPA, it should always be.
It should always be, you know, and that is your number in a sense, right? Until you get your first gig or two. So it is important.
Your college degree, what college you went to, what your GPA is generally going to help you. Generally going to be most important to you when you're getting your first job. If you've already had a job, or even even grad school, you know, you've worked jobs here as research assistants, as graduate assistants. Your previous experience is going to end up being far more important than what grade you got. Especially, you know, if I'm hiring someone, when I look at him, I'm like, wow, he did amazing at his last job. His references said he was spectacular. Like, he accomplished a lot there. Really saved that, you know, really made a big impact. Oh, but he didn't do well back when he was in school. Like, no, I don't care what you did when you were in school. I care about what you can do for me.
That's right, yeah. What have you done? So as you come out of school, the question is, well, what have you done? Well, I did all these multiple projects, right? And here's why I did them. And here's was the result of all these projects. And it all turned out to be a 3.92, right? So what have you done? And to Lou's point, when you get in your career, they don't, you know, I haven't been asked my GPA in a while, but I have been asked, like, what have you done? Or what are you doing now in your role, right?
So the one time that might matter is if you went, like what school you went to, is if you went to, say, Yale, and if you're in a client-facing role and you need to provide a value statement, because again, value statement is going to be important anytime you're meeting someone new for any form of professional or even personal relationship. Why the heck should someone listen to you? Why do I care what you're saying? So sometimes if you say like, oh yes, I went to Yale, like people are like, oh yeah. But if you went to UConn, I know UConn isn't Yale, it's still a good school. But if you're graduate students in engineering, you'll have money for your value statement. There's a reason to be listening to you anyways, because you're very smart.
Yeah, absolutely. There was,
So I know like after undergrad, they will ask you like a transcript, well, you know, lawyers ask for a transcript
Yeah.
after grad school.
Yep.
Yeah. And like proof of, you know, you've got this degree or.
You always want to be able to prove what you say, right? Don't fluff it, you know, because if somebody says, well, can you elaborate on something, or can you provide some proof? Don't, puff it up or fluff it. Be honest. If somebody asks you, do you have this skill? No, I don't have that skill, but I'd love to learn it. We love continuous learners, right?
And that's somewhere where you excel. Because one of the lines, when I was selling my personal brand, and I still do, one of the things that you can bring up is, if you're a doctoral student, you can say, no, you're not, chances are you're not going to be hired into exactly what your research is. Because that, your research is so focused. But what you've really learned as a PhD student is how to learn quickly. Because you need to be, do literature review, you need to see what the current field is, be reading journals. So you are professional learners right now. So you can be on and say, no, I'm not an expert there, but I really love to learn that, and I'm a very quick learner. I'll emphasize that.
Many companies will train. I mean, we look
Yeah.
for continuous learners, people that are adaptable and flexible, right? So you'll come in and you'll be open to new ideas. And really, that's what companies will train. So understand that. And if I could share just one other thing. Yes, I would. You got some time? So I said at the beginning that I'd share with you something around learning how to interview better, right? We were talking a little bit about that. And one thing I've learned over the years is a technique called visualization. And that's a technique, do they have like sports, anybody like sports, World Series, downhill skiing, any of that type of stuff? I mean, a downhill skier is probably a good way to look at this. But when you see the downhill skier kind of going before the race, right? What is this person, he or she, doing? They're actually moving through all the gates, right? And they're actually, you wonder, why are they doing all these moves, right? They're visualizing themselves going down the trail before they go down, right? And they have it memorized, right? They know exactly what they're going to do. It's no different than if you're interviewing. You should know exactly what you're going to do when someone asks you a particular question. And you should be prepared on all that. So you can do this even by yourself. But you have to just relax and kind of take yourself out of the moment a little bit and go through it and say, well, if somebody asks me the question of, so tell me about yourself. Or can you describe some of your weaknesses? I hate it. That's the type of thing I hate it. It's like, I don't know. Or describe some of your strengths. Or tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult person and what did you do to resolve it? Right? So you have to ask yourself those questions, answer those in your mind. You might be walking down the sidewalk doing that. Or you're driving in your car, but be careful because you can really get, there's been times I've done this and I'm down like 3 exits and I don't even know how I got there. It's like, wow, I better stop doing visualization. It's even before a meeting, right? You're going to a meeting, a sales meeting, you got numbers, you got all this stuff. Visualize your client throwing objections at your proposal, right? It's an incredibly strong tool. You just have to practice it. I wish I knew it, I would have known it years and years ago. Watch the World Series. You see the batter in the on-deck circle and they're swinging their bat, right? They're timing the pitches. They're imagining themselves, truly imagining themselves hitting the ball. I can tell you what, they're not getting up to the plate to not hit, right? So when you go to an interview, you want to go there, you want to crush it, right? So to do that, you have to practice, and visualize yourself going to that interview before you even have gone.
Yeah. IBM has a mantra, which they repeat nonstop, which is think, prepare, rehearse. Think, prepare, rehearse. Before you go and do anything, you should think about it, really put in thought, think through all the angles, prepare, do your homework, go to their website, do your research, and then rehearse, practice it, practice. I know before I give a presentation, I always do it at home a couple times. And the first time it's always terrible. It's always so bad. But by the time you actually go and do that, you need to be ready. And you better believe that in an interview, you're presenting yourself. You're selling your own personal brand. You're selling you.
Exactly. And as you're giving these presentations or interviews, like Luke, he prepares before a presentation, so do I. But one thing that might make you comfortable is that you know yourself best. Just like when I'm giving a presentation, I know my material best, so I'm a little less nervous about it, you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, has seen the depth yet, right? Only me. And so when you're interviewing, it's like, look, you know yourself best, and feel comfortable with that.
And even if you're talking about something you don't know the best, don't be afraid. Never be afraid of being asked something you don't know. Be perfectly willing to say, I don't know, I'll look it up and I'll get back to you.
Is it better to finish PhD as soon as possible or extend it and do more things?
Say that one more time. Do you do more project
So
work?
is it better to finish your PhD as soon as you can, or it's better to extend it to gain more knowledge, do more projects, present more papers?
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So there's, a couple of schools of thought on that.
Yeah.
It depends on the company. And I bet you if you ask 10 people, you get 10 different answers on the employer recruiting side. We like to see practical knowledge. I'll just speak for my company, or data, I should say. And we're looking for education, continuous learning, and also a practical in form of a co-op or an internship. We like both. Those that don't have that pragmatic approach are a little bit, it's a little tougher for them to get a job with us. Yeah. So I do like to see that. Other companies would say, yeah, just get it all done, and then come to us sometime.
And if you're, it's going to depend on what type of position you're applying for too. If you want to become a tenure track professor, and you graduate with your 2 publications, then you don't stand a chance. But if you have lots of publications, you'll have a better chance. But then I personally would err on the side of graduate as soon as you can, and then if you want more experience, get a postdoc. So instead of doing 10 years of PhD, do 5 PhD, 5 postdocs. I know 10 years is a long time, but you get the point.
I mean, even do it like an exercise. If you do a career mapping for yourself, right? Anybody can do that. I mean, when you get into a work environment, someone's going to ask you, "Give me your 30, 60, 90-day plan." You got to roadmap that out. Why not? Yeah, put out a whiteboard or something. Roadmap your career out that says, well, and sometimes that's going to lead you to your answer. Well, maybe I will go for additional schooling before I, go to this opportunity, or maybe maybe I do want to get some practical experience, in between. So map it out. I mean, why not, right? I mean, it's your brand. You want to market that. You should know where you're going. Be clear to yourself, right?
I know we're a little bit over. Is it okay if I say one more thing? All right. So this isn't in response to any question. It's just a general tip for when you're dealing with an interviewer, or if you're dealing with a customer, or someone from the line of business, the same company as you, or your friends and wife, anything. Something called the objection handling model. It's how you deal with an objection that someone brings up. It might be a disagreement, it might be, an objection is anything that will prevent the conversation from moving forward. So it could be like, oh, well, what do you know about this? Or it could be, I don't think you know this so well. Whatever it is. There's 5 steps. The first step is acknowledging what they're saying. Wow, thank you for bringing that up. Or that's a really good question. I get that a lot. Next, you want to empathize. You need to be able to see whatever they're saying from their point of view. So, if my wife and I are getting in an argument, before you ever get in that argument, if I stop and see it from her point of view, it's going to, lots of times you can solve the issue right there. So first you acknowledge, because if someone doesn't think that you're listening to them, you'll never move forward. Then you empathize. Then you're going to handle that objection. So that's when you're going to really listen to what they're saying and provide your potential option, your solution. And then number 4 is you, sorry. So I can't, not going to 5. I skipped one right at the beginning, silly me. So it's acknowledge, clarify, empathize, handle, and then validate. So you need to first acknowledge where you say, thank you for bringing that up. Or like, yeah, I totally see where you're coming from there. Let me get this. Clarify. Why exactly, are you thinking that? Can you tell me a little bit, what exactly do you mean by that question? Then you're going to empathize, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. Then you handle, well, this is how I think we can solve this. And then finally validate, which is, so did that address your concern? So, quick example. Let's say my wife is mad at me because I didn't take out the trash. Oh, I'm sorry, thanks for bringing that up, you're right. Probably should have taken out that trash. But just to be clear, why are you upset about this? What, is it really the trash? Oh, well, the trash is heavy, I can't really lift it, you don't have an auto can. Oh, now it's clarified, so you emphasize. Oh, wow, I absolutely get that. I would be very annoyed if the trash was stinky, but I couldn't carry it out. I totally get where you're coming from. I'll take it out tomorrow. Thanks. Is that all right? Cool. So, I know that's a silly example, but the general acknowledge, clarify, empathize, handle, validate works shockingly well in interviews, shockingly well pretty much everywhere. And as an engineer, one of the problems you're going to face is engineers are problem solvers, first and foremost. And we love to just skip to handle. Someone says, I have a problem. You say, well, here's the solution. Are we done? I'm going on break. But that solution you're going to throw down might not be exactly what they need. You need to, at very least, clarify, see what their problem is. Look at it from their perspective so that when you propose a solution, it's actually what they need. And then you validate and make sure it's what they need. So, cannot recommend that enough as engineers. It's a nice formulaic way, as all engineers like, to deal with objections.
Thank you so much for your great information. Thanks everyone else.
Food is available, so please help yourself. And our next workshop is on November 9th, and we will send notification emails to you. Thank you.
Let me just make a few comments regarding this. I mean, in terms of doing networking. So UConn Engineering, we always have every month innovation connections. You know, the flyer comes us and the email. That's one venue for you to come and meet business people, you know, entrepreneurs and all that, and different topics. And it's enough. So the next one is November 17th, and it's the School of Business, and it's about entrepreneurship, how make your ideas, you know, be worthwhile. And there are people who talk about it, and you learn about it. Then there's food and networking, you know, for a couple of hours. So you can. That's a great venue for you to practice. And in terms of doing different, you know, volunteer work. So as a School of Engineering, you know, we do a lot of outreach activities, you know, undergraduate, graduate. Lou is one of them that did a lot of them, and you can always volunteer to go to high schools and middle schools to do some activity into your projects and STEM activities. And I have connections, and believe me, schools that, you know, we've been working, the students, they're the ones that they don't get anything. So whenever you go and talk, spend, you know, give your 1 hour time to them, it worth a lot, you know. So those are some of the opportunities that is available for you, and I can help you to do it if you're interested. And I'm Ida, and I'm sitting in the Castleman second floor, and you can find me. And one thing you talked about mapping, which is very, very important, and is not usual for scientists to map their life, because we just work and we want to make discoveries. But and business people, there are just wondering like, what? You know, you don't, and so.
Use your sticky notes.
So here in spring, we are going to bring a couple of people. One, Melanie Singh, that she wrote a book about where are the PhD jobs. And then we're going to bring Cynthia Fernham, which she co-authored or co-founded IDP,